Yes, yes. We are doing it live, as Saxious has just chirped before I started the stream. Hello, all. How are you doing? It is Wednesday night. It is time for some Midweek Geek. And I'm just going to have to... give me a moment, because I have the stream running in a separate window. It's about to start. I'm about to start hearing myself. So I'm just going to mute that. There we go.
I heard it.
There we go.
I heard it.
Oh, no, that was me. That was me. Sorry.
Okay, well, I heard
There
one
we
of you.
go.
You're bad YouTubers. All of you bad. Bad.
I accept it. I know what I am.
I know what I am.
I never said my production quality was high, so...
Listen, I try to raise the bar for all of you as often as I can by not giving a fuck as much as possible. That you fail to understand the quality of not giving a fuck that I bring to YouTube. That's on you, son.
That's heightest raising the bar. Because you just put it where we can't reach on tiptoes.
No.
Yeah, but it's easier for us to win Limbo, so...
Yeah, it's really, really hard, though, when fucking this guy comes along and goes, no, it's got to go higher. It's the minimum has to be 10 feet tall. And you're like, come on, man.
Good evening, Mr. Baker. How are you doing? And
hey, Mr. Baker.
Good evening to my panel, Iman, Bear, and Saxious, otherwise known as IQ, Bear, and the accounting DM. Any games recently, fellas?
No. Been working on them and preparing a new campaign that's starting next Monday with my Monday group, but no
games.
We're on the second week of the year.
I know. How dare I slack like this? What's wrong with me?
No, like my question to him is like, why would I be running a game on the second week of the year?
Why not? I run them throughout Christmas.
Wait, sorry, is Heroic on Friday cancelled now?
No, it's happening this Friday is the first game back.
Yeah.
Hello, Bishop.
But this is the
Are you
second week.
talking about this guy's Heroic on Friday?
Yeah.
Last week was Wednesday the 1st. And that gave me 3 days. I was in Denmark, in case you forgot.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm not running games while I'm on holiday. So I've just gotten back. I'm not running games. I've been preparing games. I've been making planets, as those of who has been in this gentleman's service.
Yes, we know. And that lovely piece of artwork that Joker did with a picture of you saying, I make planets.
Yeah.
You know, funnily enough, I read that in Joker's voice, even though it's supposed to be Saxious' speech bubble.
I make planets, me.
Yeah.
Iman, we've played games, haven't we?
Aye, yes. But chronologically, I was playing Tomb of Horrors on Sunday.
Yes, you were. I didn't catch up and find out. I know 3 of you crawled into the Devil Mouth in the first session.
That was session 1.
Did anybody die in session
Horrors? And you climbed into the Devil Mouth?
Yes.
Yes, they
Why?
did.
They don't know. And let them die.
No, but why? What is the benefit when you are facing that fucking Devil Mouth? What in your brain goes, I must crawl into this?
You don't know. You can't see what's behind it. It is pitch black.
Well, okay, so if you know me as a player by now, I like to poke and prod things.
Yes, but
I like to stick my head where it doesn't belong.
The history of this fucking module, everybody who crawls into things, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Do
You do
not
realize
have a pole?
I didn't know D&D was
10-foot
like...
pole exists for a reason in a dungeon crawl. It's to put it into things that instead of crawling your body into them, you morons.
Well,
that's okay. Now he gets to take the 12-foot pole and stick it straight up your arse, so you'll be fine.
2 of my compatriots decided to just walk in anyway, and I was some sort of umming and ahhing about it.
I will never understand.
So, did anybody die in the second session?
Nobody died. No.
So, how far were you in? What room are you in now?
We found the secret passage. 2 pits will lead to a fortuitous fall. We found that secret passage. And then we followed everything along, and we got to the room where, someone says, "Who dares disturb the sleep of Asarak?" And Joker's character picked up the golden mace and whacked him a few times, and every time the room shook. And once, I think, it shook so badly that everything started to collapse on us. So we made our way out, we escaped, Straw teleported us out. And we were just like, I don't think that was the Lich. That seemed way too easy. So I think we're going back in for another go in 2 weeks' time. Or a
So
week and a
you
half.
opened the secret door, you came in, and then that's the room you kind of got into. You didn't go any further than that. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
we
you
went in
came
that
into
room.
you went into the first room.
Yes.
That's what you got into. There we go. That should keep him happy.
Okay.
I know exactly how far you are in and how much you've done now. So yeah. The best is still to come.
Exactly.
Hello,
But
Bob.
none of us have died this time.
Just get in there with the spell dig and start just going through walls. You don't care.
So
You don't need to,
after walking into the devil mouth and dying and being reincarnated, still as a dwarf, thankfully, I then learnt my lesson, and now I walk around with a 10-foot pole and poke every single fucking little crevice.
What other games have you played?
Call of Cthulhu yesterday. Look at you and your big cheesy grin.
Yeah.
Do you want me to fill them in, or?
Yes, I do.
So we were in some sort of caves, and we were following this path with some weird watery, irony, blood sort of weirdy substance trickling down into a cavern where everything seemed to converge. So we emerge into this cavern, and we basically see a bunch of dead bodies, like dismembered, that had looked like being like clawed, like scratched, ripped apart, dismembered, decapitated, the whole shebang. And upon further inspection, it looked like our best friend Fenelix's work.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
It does. We noticed a pyramid. What was it? 40 foot in diameter,
15 foot high.
Or I guess side. 15 feet high of decapitated heads. One of me and Manfred's character decided to try and kick this pyramid over. At which point it didn't really topple over, but it just sort of covered us both in gunk and slime and other horrible bodily fluids. At which point we both just threw up. Lovely. It looked like there was a pillow on top of the pyramid, but where there was like an indentation where something should have been but wasn't anymore. Upon further inspection, it looked vaguely head-shaped, which is something that we're looking for. And yeah, this watery, bloody liquid, whatever it was, ran down into like a 2-foot diameter hole, which is just about large enough for one of us to squeeze through. So one of us squeezed through and, sort of had a little feel around, and would you believe we recovered the head?
Smeared in garlic, wasn't it?
Smeared in garlic, yes, which helped us in the upcoming combat. Because when we tried to leave with the head, all of these supposedly dead, dismembered bodies started twitching and coming to life, bringing themselves back together. So we got in a awful combat, which could have gone so horribly wrong at so many opportunities because the dice just hated us.
And then the dice turned. Saxious, with one character unconscious, another character on 1 hit point, another character battered down, one character drained to less than half his original strength by being bitten.
And one character insane, just flinging a dagger around like this.
Yeah. Then the dice turned, and the vampires just couldn't hit because they were proto-vampires. They just couldn't hit at all because they had a 50% chance of hitting you, and I kept rolling 55 plus.
Lovely.
So we had to make dodge checks to get from the side of the cavern we were on back to the entrance. It was 3 dodge checks, right, John?
Yeah, 2.
2, sorry. Okay. So we had
some
to
of you went back to help Harold, who was insisting on continuing to fight.
Yeah, so I made a break for it. Jasmina made a break for it. Oliver made a break for it. And then Harold was still there, basically, he was holding a dagger, which is called the Claw, which has magical powers, which none of the rest of us know about, but Harold now does. And every time he got a hit with the Claw, he loved it. Like, he just wanted to carry on doing it. Like, he was compelled by the weapon to keep drawing blood from these creatures. Anyway, Joker's character Jerome fell unconscious. Harold was insane and completely sane, and swinging his dagger around completely sanely. I'm at the entrance. Joker's unconscious. Jerome's unconscious. So I run back in to go and get him, and then military carry him back out. Jasmina goes to get Harold, basically talk some sense into him, and he comes out. So now the group have all the pieces of the simulacrum, which is the thing we're looking for. Yeah. Upon getting back to the hotel, I have 2 pieces, which are both the legs. Oliver has 2 pieces, which are both the arms. Harold has 2 pieces, the head and the torso. And each one of us gets this this idea in our heads. Well, firstly, Harold gets the idea in his head. Oh, I should wear the head. It looks quite right. Yeah, I feel like this would fit me. He puts it on. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to put the torso on. Oh, I love this. Oh, I'm going to go ask Oliver for the arms. When he goes to ask Oliver for the arms, Oliver's like, yeah, here's the arms. But he has a change of heart. He's like, actually, maybe I want to wear the arms. So then those 2 start arguing about who's going to wear the simulacrum. The rest of us hear this. I go into the room and say, guys, what are you arguing about? Oh my God, what are you doing wearing the simulacrum? And then I have a change of heart. Actually, do you know what? I'm a bit jealous. Maybe I should wear it.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is just a 3-way clusterfuck between 3 party members who all have basically 0 control over what they're doing because we failed our power checks.
Yeah, because basically power checks made you sort of give in to the will of the simulacrum. And yeah, we ended with Oliver taking out a grenade.
Yes.
that was the cliffhanger we ended on. With Harold there with his dagger.
I hope I did that justice, John. I don't think I did, because that session was something else, man.
It was grotesque, it was brutal, and we had a massive combat, a big dynamic combat that was really good. It went on for longer than usual, and it's the topic of tonight's video, tonight's stream. Yes, we are a group of weirdos, Mr. Baker. Hello, Mike.
Ooh. Leave me the fuck out of that.
On the...
Your Cthulhu people are on another fucking level of weirdo.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
I'm not denying it at all.
It's like you all have like that repressed accountant thing going on where it's like, well, at work I'm very straight-laced and behaved, and then, oh, well, it's playtime, so let's go full fucking David Cronenberg. You know, it's just like, what the fuck, man? There's a middle ground. Find it.
No. Extremities. No. Nothing.
Exactly.
Tendrils and ichor and fucking ooze as much as we can
order, complete chaos. There is nothing in between.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, enjoy that shit.
So on the topic that we're already on, dynamic combat, you adding the garlic as like a thing to give us a bonus die because the vampires didn't like it, that was interesting.
That's in the adventure.
Oh, is it in the adventure? I thought you made that up.
But no, the adventure had said there were 2 garlic cloves placed on top of the head. It was Andy standing on the head while it was wedged in there. I thought,
that squished him.
I could see, yeah, you can squish them and smear it all over it. That'll make it more interesting.
Okay. I didn't realize it was in the adventure. I thought that was just you going, do you know what? Yeah, fucking vampires hate garlic. It makes sense to me.
Why do you think Fenwick didn't take the head with him?
Good point.
There's garlic left on top of it. Anyhow. So, dynamic combat, making combat interesting, because we have all, and I'm going to say now, we have all played in games where combats have gone from time to time. It's happened. We might have been running the game, we might have been playing in the game, but how many times do you think, I just want this fight to be over? And that can happen because combat can become a monotonous grind. I think certainly later versions of D&D are partly to blame for that. You've got the hit point bloat of 5th edition. You've got the obsession with moving on a board with 4th edition, and you've got all the various rule for everything of 3rd edition. I think earlier versions of D&D were better because combat was faster. And I think there were other systems as well where combat is designed to be quick, designed to be dynamic, designed to be fluid. Call of Cthulhu is one such example. And MERP is one where it can bog down. I mean, these are ones that I play and run regularly. Paranoia, extremely quick and brutal, because it's supposed to be. And a lot of other systems in between. So how do we, not so much use the mechanics to make combat better, how do we use our imaginations and use factors in and around the combat to make it more interesting? I'm going to go over to Saxious, who thought up this topic.
Yep.
Would you like to start?
Sure. I mean, I go through with a number of different things depending on what we've got. So at the moment, as you know, many people would know from your Discord server, I am currently preparing for a sci-fi game. So I am reading through a number of environmental factors, like what happens when your spaceship is being struck and your gravitational field is now gone. Well, you're going to have to, not only steer the ship, you're going to have to fix the damages, but if you are also being boarded, you're going to have to fight while you are in 0 Gs, which is a marvelous thing, especially when you start having the whole thing of like combat isn't just you hit each other, you hit and you then push each other away. You're now being very dynamic because everyone's moving everywhere at the same time, and you have to roll to make numerous acrobatics or dexterity checks in order for you to have the upper hand. So what I effectively do is that I try to look at what is the environment, what is the situation that will then make this different. I know that, you've been in a proper forest. You know that there isn't a lot of like very good footing. And I'm not talking about, the big evergreen, forests where, you've just got the big, evergreens effectively. I mean, the forest that's got a lot more dynamic where you've got the roots sticking out and you've got
You gotta pay attention.
Exactly. You're not going to be
and badger holes, and rabbit holes, and all sorts.
People forget something really important. Sorry to interject on that. When they're doing their terrain level ideas for forests in D&D fights, they think it's a fucking plain with a bunch of trees growing out of it. No. It bubbles and moves. It's like a very dynamic landscape usually, and you can trip over a root and suddenly find yourself rolling down a what we call a dell, where you just go bouncing down until you're in the bottom of it, and hope to God you didn't hit anything on the way down. Right? You got to be really careful.
So now having a combat in a forest would be just as dangerous. If you're not paying attention, if you're not someone of the woodlands, then that would definitely be calling for you to say, right, well, I have some dexterity rolls now. I'm gonna need to have your wisdom checks or perception rolls as you're fighting on. And I'm not talking this being one way. You're going to be doing this as the DM as well for the NPCs, because then you're going to be having almost a level of comedy as well, where the enemy is going to be tripping and falling, but it will present opportunities which the players then needs to capitalize on. So these are the sort of things that I wanted to sort of bring up, that you can craft things to make combat interesting. Now, my method would maybe be contrasting to what John wants to do, because I like to add things in to make it more difficult, because the combat should be difficult.
I would penalize the armor class.
You can penalize the armor class.
I would remove their dex penalty, their dex bonus for sure. And if they didn't have one, I'd just probably put a flat -2 on them, unless they want to make an acrobatics or a dexterity check every round to avoid tripping over their own 2 feet, to try and keep moving as fast as they can. See, this is the thing. This is one of the things where we went into one of these problems where people always are complaining about how, the rogue is an blah, 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 and agility is a god stat, and blah, blah, blah. Really? Why don't you just start introducing elements that cause them to have to test all that theory and stop treating the world like it's a fucking one-dimensional plane that they're dancing on, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then you're also going to be having, again, other moments like if you are an archer or if you shoot any form of ranged weaponry and it is windy. It doesn't take a lot for that arrow to be deviated out of course from where you want it to go. I mean, heck, most of the time you aren't shooting a single target. You are just going, this area in general, I just need to hit that. Because you lose a lot of accuracy the further out you go, especially with bows and arrows or crossbows.
Just a quick reference to the comments. Peter, yes, I think you are correct there. The action economy of later editions of D&D does make it drag out. Seraphis, I think that's part of the problem, though, because there are so many rules and rulings and so many things buried in books that people want to use and so many add-on books and everything that's what bogs it down.
Agree to disagree. If you're going to be sitting and arguing over rules in the game, that's a fault on either the player or the DM. You need to stop that. So you will go through and say, right, this is my character. These are the abilities that I have. These are the bonuses that I have. I roll this. Here's what I get. Bam. End of that. The DM might say, right, I want to revisit that after a session, but we'll get back to that and we'll put a pin in that and we move on. So there are a lot of rules in 3.5, but they are there to give versatility and options for the players. That's what
we had a player who ended up being kicked out of the group. And it's all well and good saying, yeah, you've got to put your foot down. We kept putting our foot down with him, and he had a couple of chances, and he got kicked out as a result because he just couldn't stop arguing. Couldn't stop. But yeah,
you've done the right thing.
Those sessions when he was there, it was a pain in the arse. Complete pain in the arse. But we've done the right thing in the long term, and the game improved and sped up afterwards. That wasn't 3.5 for that particular game, but
that's a person.
It's a person. It's a person problem sometimes.
Yeah, but that's a person problem. That's not a system problem.
No,
and it also has something to do with dynamic combat, because we're now talking about people being a pain in the ass as opposed to dynamic combat being a pain.
Thank you.
So I hate to be the Saxious for a moment, John, but we're going to get you back on track, son.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So my definition, I think, from what Saxious was saying there, his definition of what he considers to be dynamic combat is lots of sort of interactions affecting more interactions and rolling into more interactions. And that sort of seems to stem from mechanics, use of dice, all that sort of thing. When I think of dynamic combat, I think of something that is dramatic and fast moving. And this is where I think Saxious, you said this, that you like to add more.
Yeah.
I like to strip back in terms of mechanics, but add more in terms of other things going on, just other factors that might not be mechanic related, just description related, just whole sort of feeling in the moment sort of related.
Right. That's where you and I are different. Because I strip again as a player. This is why I'm a bad player, because I strip away the fluff and I go, where's the mechanic? Great, crunch, move. But that's because I approach it with an objective mindset. But there's nothing wrong with what this doing. Again, this is just comparative for how you go about it, for how you make it different. Though I assume that when you are, let's put something like this: you're in a cavern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is a natural cavern of one form or another. You're deeper underground and you're traveling towards the Underdark. You only have the lights of either your light stones or your torches. With me so far?
Yeah.
Would you then turn around and say, right, I'm going to give you penalties because you can't see the enemy? They've got dark vision. You don't. You are having a hard time seeing where you're standing because, again, natural caverns, they are not even. So,
I mean,
would you at that point go on?
Last night, for example, in the combat, the characters simply didn't know what was happening in one side of the cavern All they saw were flashes and heard gunshots and screams and whatever, because they couldn't see there. Their light source wouldn't take them, would not tell them what was there. So they had the issue of not knowing what was going on. Now, of course, they could have gone to that side of the cavern, find out what was happening, which would have put them in more danger, because that's where more enemies were concentrated. But quite wisely, they chose to stay and fight the group of proto-vampires that had attacked them, and not get involved with the group that had attacked their Bulgarian friends who had accompanied them to the caverns, who were busy being torn to shreds because they didn't have a magic dagger.
So, question from me to you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go through some of the examples that you do when you are crafting more engaging combats or more engaging encounters? Because from what I understood, you said you want to do things to bring out the immersiveness, to be more detailed in sort of the moment. But can you give me some examples for that?
I like when, I go in terms of, think in terms of D&D. A recent OSE session I ran, I intentionally created a number of rooms on this level with very restricted movement. With enemies that were capable of moving through a part of the room that the party couldn't. So it gets the party really thinking, and the players sort of panicking a little. They don't have the freedom of movement in the flat plane, as Bear was talking about. And the way I did it was with a number of very murky, algae infested pools, and they were It was a Christmas thing. They were fighting were-geese, and these geese creatures could move through, across the water quite easily.
That bit, yeah.
The player characters couldn't. Player characters were stuck on these little walkways running around the edge, and it made the player characters really think about, hang on, these geese are able to get through across the middle, and we're stuck around the edge, and how are we going to work this out? And that sort of gets the players thinking in the moment.
And as
so you put, go on.
I couldn't hit a barn door with a brick.
No, quite.
So my understanding is that you are placing restrictions upon the players and what actions they can take or their mobility in this instance.
Mobility. I like to restrict mobility. I do like to restrict mobility.
Okay.
I think it induces panic.
Is this explicitly for Call of Cthulhu that you like to do that, or do you do that in your D&D games?
That was D&D.
That was D&D.
Yeah. I love to have mobility restricted. I love to have players having to move around in environments where they can't be sure of their footing, where they can't be moving around wherever they want. There's a famous encounter at the end of S4, Lost Caverns of Sojkov, where the party, this is right at the end, that final room is a sphere. They enter, the door that enters into the sphere opens onto a little platform high up in one side of the sphere. In the center of the sphere is a beautiful woman laying on top of a coffin. She, of course, is a vampire, a very powerful vampire. And of course, and the party need to fight her. She is wearing slippers of spider climbing. Thus, she can move all around this sphere where the party are sort of stuck.
Oh, I see.
And it makes for a very entertaining encounter.
Doesn't vampires naturally have spider climb?
No.
Okay.
Why would you let that get in the way of introducing a bullshit new magic item players need to have? Come on.
Because I am looking at the wizard and going, why don't you have spider climbing? Why have you not taken these utility things? And as a matter of fact, allow me to order your spells and criticize you for you.
Lost Caverns of Sojkov, you're like level 12 or 14.
Why did you just take 10 fireballs?
No, you're about 7 to 9 typically.
For Lost Caverns?
Yeah, it's level 6 to 10 typically.
Is it?
Yes.
We did it at level 13 and the Bodak killed half of us.
It's high mid levels. Not high level, but it's high mid level.
Okay, but flight or levitate is available.
Yeah, they are.
Like,
Yeah,
there's no fucking reason why players shouldn't be able to handle this, and and you don't need to introduce a bullshit magic item just because you got a cool idea for an encounter scenario. Like
I
he
think
said,
it's great. I like
vampire
it.
spider climb by nature.
That magic item went on to be in Unearthed Arcana. It came in. It was
D&D.
But anyway,
But no, I like that encounter because it makes the party go, oh my god, we're up against someone really powerful, and she can move, and we're a bit stuck, and oh, how do we get around this? I like to put players on the back foot, make them panic a little. I think that makes combat more interesting.
all right, let me spin this around.
Mhm.
I really like when I was following through with the Codex Albana and how you had, attack and parry. Now, I wish I had found out about that much earlier in my DM career. Because, while I've done it for Warhammer, I was so used to it being in the Warhammer world, hard to translate it from the D100 into my D20 world. Because it would have been hilarious when I was playing Starfinder, Pathfinder, but in space, because why not? And having organic people wearing spacesuits, getting out of their ship to fight with swords against pirates that are trying to weld their way into their ship. And having to remind the players, by the way, attacks to you means your pressure inside your suit decreases, and I will murder you the moment your pressure goes down enough for me to just go, and you're dead. That
But they
would have
get
been
you
hilarious.
inducing panic into the players.
Well,
And it
now,
makes
now
combat exciting.
Well, in that case, in that situation, what the players turned around and went, right, now according to the rules, we can now do defensive stances, which means we get plus this, which then meant that I was just describing you are heavily defensive, and when you are fighting, you are very, preserving about you going away. Yes, Grim Squirrel, I'm a few sentences away from being on a watch list. Ha! Joke's on you, I'm on all of them. I collect them like Pokemons.
Saxious has been on a few lists in his time.
What am I here for again? I don't understand what the conversation is anymore.
So
It's
in
just
regards
you
to
two being an old married couple again.
Either way, so with that, but that made that combat, that entire encounter, it was a lot more engaging in that sense. Similarly, in oh god, where was this one? There was a very good Let's Play that I watched for a Rogue Trader campaign.
Was it
Where
called
the
Codex Albana? A really good Let's Play.
No, it was a Rogue Trader campaign, as I was saying, where it was specifically looking at the players trying to settle and create a. Oh no, sorry. The players got too close to a planet, and the gravitational force of the planet pulled them in. They tried to get out of it. They crash landed into the planet. It's not a good situation. What's worse is that the planet doesn't have it doesn't have a biosphere. There's no oxygen, meaning that the moment that ship erupted, there were large sections of it that was just gone. It has no oxygen. They now have to always have their spacesuits on, while they're doing repairs, and they need to replace the what's it called? One of the energy cores. Well, they find something that they can use for an energy core from a lost alien civilization. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that because there's no biosphere and this planet is very close to the sun, that meant that when it was day, it was terrifyingly warm, and the radiation was just beaming down on them. They couldn't travel. There were very close windows where the DM explained, this is when you can travel around. You now have to be very careful about how you do it, and you've got to take your time out to then set up where you are putting camp as you're waiting out for the next wave of radiation to beam down on you. And that created a lot more intensity, because the players had to then spend their downtime going, right, we need to travel here, camp here, travel here, camp there. Like, they had to plot it out before they even left their ship. And it meant that the players had to be a lot more invested, and they could, the margin of error was quite slim for them.
True. And of course, if they had a fight and they damaged their suits, they'd be in trouble.
Again, another case for it. And then
Bear.
yeah, go on.
So Bear. How have you made combat dynamic in Codex Albana? Because it has been dynamic.
Description.
Is that it?
The easiest way to make combat dynamic is to explain what's going on and to describe it and use evocative terminology. It's the same for a superhero game. It's the same for a sci-fi game. It's especially the same for a horror game. And it's the same for a fantasy game. Now, the gentleman from Denmark to my side here, and I respect the floor respects him, loves using the rules to do this. And I can see the benefit of that as well. But I also think just sitting around and explaining things and describing them with graphic detail puts the players in the moment and then becomes more dynamic for them. And they're more likely to do dynamic things as opposed to just trying to figure out how the rules can help them through the fight. Nothing is more boring than a rules fight. At that point in time, it's no longer a role-playing game. It's now a miniatures combat game. Have fun. It's a skirmish game. Have a grand old time. You're playing HeroClix. Enjoy. But if you're role-playing, it's way more fun when you're using narrative and description to achieve your dynamism. For me.
Saxious
But I'm a dirty, filthy story gamer. I keep telling everybody this.
Saxious bears in the same camp as me when it comes to combat.
Okay.
You're not going to cause a fight between us, John. It's not going to happen. We respect each other's styles because we see the benefit of each other's ability, but we also know where we differ. You, on the other hand, are like a little fucking gremlin trying to just stir up shit wherever you can and get everybody all riled up with each other.
Goblin.
You're bored.
But no, yeah.
Hey, Sarah.
But hello, Marky. As I say, in our Codex Albana campaign, one thing that has kept combat moving, in addition to the descriptions, has been quite simply the simplicity of the combat mechanics as well. It's been simple, but it's been brutal and dirty as well. So it gets us thinking on our feet, panicking more in the moment because we're on edge. We know we can.
Why does that happen? Why do you think?
Because you're making
I've stripped out most of the bullshit that's in the rules that is all for the tactical gamers who want to run around getting +2s and 3s and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And I reduce it down to, what are you doing? All right, cool, -5. Go ahead and try. Oh, that's awesome. +10. Go ahead and try.
Yeah. I will say, last night's combat, Iman, in our game last night, as I told you before the stream, that was probably the session where I ran the most loosey-goosey with Call of Cthulhu rules and the source material I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled so much of that out of my arse in the moment, but
because it felt organic, it felt like it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked in the moment, and I ended that session thinking, I've just run a good game. I've enjoyed that, and the feedback from the players was all positive. So I don't think we need in-depth mechanics.
Well, some do, though. Some do. Some enjoy the in-depth mechanics. Some enjoy that tactical aspect, and I'm not going to poo-poo them for doing it. Like, that's their thing. Cool, good for them. They like it. Nothing wrong with that. I got a buddy of mine, my best friend. When he plays, Jesus Christ, man, I better know my rules because he took the time to learn them. And he's going to basically make a monkey out of every NPC I put in front of him that's a fight because he knows how to, I'm going to do this, and then I'll do that, and then this gives me a this, and he knows the game. And that's part of it, is knowing the game. If you're playing heroic, you better know the game. Otherwise, you're going to feel like, I'm not getting the most. Well, you know what? The game's there. It's waiting for you.
There is the point that to know what to remove, you've got to know the game in the first place.
That's the secret. I always use this example, and I'll use it again, which is this. Cartoonists do not draw reality. They draw exaggeration. They draw changes. You watch, I don't know, Clone High. They look like people to your eyes, but you study the character. They're not proper. There's something weird about them. That's because the people who drew the characters understood human anatomy first. So they knew how to change the look of the character to not break the uncanny valley. And that was important. So when you look at them, your brain still sees them as people or as humanoid characters because the shoulders are right, the arm lengths are right, the head, they're this many heads tall, blah, 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 blah. Same thing for rules. you're going to start pulling rules out of a game, well, you better know what the hell that rule's attached to and why you're pulling it out. Don't just pull it out because I don't like it. Figure out why you don't like it. Figure out what it's doing in the game. Know the game before you rip the game apart. That's up to my advice on that. But for dynamism, you can absolutely use narrative description combined with game mechanics. And between the two, you meet in the middle, and you might have a perfect game session.
Yeah, it's also down for what the group is down for. I mean, I'm gonna be testing out a mini campaign with The Witcher, where there is going to be a lot of, here's your armor class. Damage to that is then going to be reducing your armor class, and your armor class is meant to be reducing the damage that you take, so on and so on and so on. It's then going to be requiring for the players to turn around and say, right, well, I need to look after my armor, because after a fight, a part of the dynamic aspect is that you're going to come out, you're unlikely to be unscathed. At the very least, you're going to be banged up and you're going to have a couple of scratches on your armor. And then that over time is going to start wearing down your equipment. Same if you're having a shield. Your standard D20 D&D is like, oh, it's just a plus for whatever your AC is. I quite like when I go into the Warhammer Worlds or some of the other systems where it's like, no, hey, you can absolutely bring it up. You can now use that for a defensive maneuver to do this or to just absorb more damage. Lovely stuff. It then has the added bonus of the mechanics to bring it in, having durability and having additional maneuver stats. For a fighter, I quite like them. I like them having the various abilities, whether it is all the way from the 300s all the way over to just a simple sword and board, what's called 800 or 8th century knight. Give me more, and I quite like that, and then that means that the player's got things to do. Jumping over to heroic, because that's one of the things I've been doing over my my holidays. I've been trying to revisit it because I would like to do something more with the combats, especially now that Iman is ideally. I'd like to start flinging him around when there is serious combat. Throw him into the house of a family, through their dining room, through their very cheaply made divider between the two bedrooms, so that there's just this gaping man-sized hole of him being flung through it. Why? Because why not? This is a part of the superhero genre. You should absolutely be doing things like that. I believe, what was it?
Do the mechanics of the game help with that, or is it down to description?
No, they absolutely help. You look at what the damage is, the strength of the character versus the durability of the player, and you go, well, I outclass you by several ranks. You're gonna go flying, and now you're gonna be having the durability of every single wall you're gonna go through, and they're now gonna do you damage, and it's over to you, Bear.
So, but the thing is, you can mix the two together, right? Pure mechanics says, all right, he hits you for mighty damage. Give me an endurance slam save versus mighty. Oh, I got a white. All right, he sends you back 25 feet. All right, moving on to the next guy. Or all right, so he comes in, he's powered up, he's ready to go, he steps to you, you think you're going to get out of the way, but at the last second, boom, that fist came faster than you ever thought possible. It connects with your jaw. Now, that's 75 points of damage. Give me a slam save versus mighty. I failed. All right, the jaw, he hits you in the jaw, and you feel your feet leave the ground, and suddenly everything's pulling away from you like a fucking, ratchet focus in a horror film as you hit the wall, feeling it crumple beneath you. That's the difference. Most people I play with, or I have played with in my life, tend to use the first way too much and not enough of the second. The former is dull. The latter is dynamic. Bringing the two together.
Definitely. For me, it boils down to what is the game I am using. For heroic, I am trying, and I will leave Iman to be the judge on this. And I am going to be asking you to start saying words now, Iman.
I'm trying
to at least be more dynamic when I am explaining my combat events, anywhere from the situation where you were fighting the masked members of the theater gang, where you had someone almost burning down an entire area or an entire
Oh
block.
yeah.
At least that's what the example I'm jumping to at the moment. Or
Well, I was thinking more what you did with Dr. Gargantuan against Quantum Logic. The way you described that, like you could have just went, yeah, he flings you through a wall, you smack through it, yeah, you hit into another wall, you slide down, you're dead. Right, next character. No, you dragged out the description and caused me more and more pain.
I regret nothing.
Neither do I. But I mean, I like that because it sort of it adds to the story and it adds to the impact that it has on the player as a result, right? So it's not just, oh, you got flung through a wall, you broke through it, okay, yeah, you're unconscious or you're dead or whatever. It's just, oh no, he powers up, he jumps into you, you dodge one punch, he punches you 3 more times, each punch sends you flying. That kind of just added detail and description was like, oh, more gut punches, oh, more Saxious enjoyment, oh.
Plus, there's something really, really cool about beating the shit out of a player with a super smart brick. You know? Because bricks are always super dumb. You know, no power on Earth can stop the blob. But it's like, no, it's Dr. Gargantuan. Not only is he going to fuck you up, he's then going to sample your genetic material after he's done to see if he can clone 10 of you. You know? One of them will be a female. He'll just fuck up all your
Thankfully,
friends.
Flux managed to deal with him.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Flux,
One of the
other player characters, managed to deal with him. And
Deal
my
with
God,
him
if you thought Saxious was detailed in what he does, the level of detail that Aaron went to of what he wanted to do to Dr. Gargantuan to get his revenge. He went to the nth degree. He's like, is he wearing metal on his suit? Well, I'm going to manipulate that metal and I'm going to electromagnetic field and I'm going to do this and that and I'm going to throw him like a tennis ball. Like, wait,
Cool.
what
Is that
did
a power you
do?
have or are you doing a stunt?
Well, there you go.
But he just does shit or thinks of shit and says shit that I mean, I'm a new player, so I suppose I wouldn't go that outlandish, but it's just, I'm like, who thinks of this shit? But then I suppose he's been playing with Oscar for 10 years. He needs to think of that shit just to survive.
That is potential.
Anyway, yes, adding more detail causes more pain and more pleasure, and I love it.
Absolutely.
Right, so what about game systems that help with dynamics in combat? Give me an example of...
How about you give me an example of what you're talking about first?
I was about to say, like, how much work do you want to do?
Yeah, like what system do you say does it?
What system would I say does it?
Yeah.
For me, it has to be something simple. I like immediate resolutions, so things like Call of Cthulhu, where you can throw... Yeah, of course, it's got to be. But you can throw it... Yeah, there you go. Watch him say Call of Cthulhu. Simply because the PCs are fragile. Any one shot can always kill the player characters. The players have to be thinking on their feet the whole time that a fight is happening. Resolution is immediate. It's everything's a very quick percent roll. It doesn't get complicated at all, which allows so much more time for description and flourishes. And once you start the snowball rolling with the descriptions, the players join in. I think it's Bear sort of mentioned already. If you are describing things, and for me, I find in a system where there are fewer mechanics, it leaves more time to describe. This was one of the big faults I found with something like 4th edition D&D. I've heard a lot of people say it's not a system that really helps facilitate roleplay. And people come back and, but you can roleplay no matter what the system is. That is true. But when the mechanics of the game take so damn long, and combats tend to take 2.5 hours at a time, it doesn't leave much room left there for the flourishes, for the role play, for the description. So it squeezes out that side of the game by filling the game with too much in the way of mechanics. I also do like it when there is the possibility for gratuitous grisliness in the combat.
I thought you were going to say a possibility for Iman to die.
Isn't that just technically always on the table?
Yes.
No,
Yes, it is.
certain systems and certain settings help with the grisly side of things. And if you can add in some extra gore in the description and have mechanics that allow for body parts to be dismembered. And I think this, even though MERP's combat is slow, I think those criticals and the way the criticals have a direct impact on how combat progresses does add a dynamism and add to the whole descriptive side of it, which means, yes, it can be ponderous to resolve some things, but I forgive it because I was going to say the crunch, but not so much the crunch of the rules. The crunch of the bones of those people who are fighting is what I like. That's what I like in that system. So yeah, but no, something's fast and smooth, like Call of Cthulhu, ideally. Bear, how does heroic facilitate dynamic combat?
You know, I've played like 300 fucking role-playing systems in my life. If not,
well, go
more.
for another one then.
I have so many fucking RPGs right now. I don't have bookshelf space for them anymore.
Trying to give you
everything I
chill.
fucking do in this life is fucking heroic. It's like, Jesus Christ, can I be more dimensional than that? I'm begging
Support
you.
Bear's Patreon. Support his Patreon.
What was your question again, please?
Okay,
name what exactly?
No, just any system you can think of which really helps facilitate dynamic combat.
Every system facilitates dynamic combat if you actually use the fucking rules.
Not every system does.
Well, give me a system that doesn't.
I already have.
Fate does.
I already have 4th edition D&D.
4th edition D&D absolutely facilitates dynamic combat. Absolutely. I ran it, dude. It fucking does. We ran it without miniatures, using descriptions and narrative, and just using space as feet, and we were fine. Everybody wants to put a bug up their ass about 4th edition and act like 4th edition was the fucking coming of the fucking Satan or something. It was not. It was very, very manageable, and it was a very dynamic combat system.
My God, no.
What did he say?
He keeps on going on about like, oh, you had to change it. It's like, no, he didn't.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't at all.
The wording, again, John, if you have read 4th edition, they changed feet into spaces because they were going by a gridlock mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the changes was. Changing it from 1 space to 5 feet. That is not a change.
At will, daily. Encounter, just specifying when they were used as opposed to having a full fucking paragraph. You may use this power once per day until you reach level 3, at which point you can use it twice per day, and this power can only be used once per encounter, blah blah blah. It was the same shit, just shoomp into an economy of words that allowed us to get through the goddamn stuff fast. But everybody got on the let's shit all over 4th edition bandwagon because that was the cool thing to do. Even I did it, I know. And then when we actually, some of us played it, we were like, holy fuck. It plays really well. The one thing it had a problem with was hit points. Monsters had too many fucking hit points. So your fights were kind of 3rd edition-y. They were just beating on the bag until it fell over and died. But at least you were doing interesting shit. Other than the one thing 4th edition did that was magical was it removed the term from a player's mouth of, I hit him with my sword. Because they had abilities as a fighter or whatever that were their attack things. Like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to do with that. I'm going to use a dynamic thrust or whatever the fuck it was. And as a result, it made it more engaging and more action-oriented and less, oh, fucking hit him.
And you can see that in 5th edition with,
carried it over.
Exactly. Fifth edition took a lot of the brilliant stuff that they had seen in the previous editions, and it's marvelous. It is actually good.
Like
There you
fifth
go.
edition is just wordy fourth edition for the most
Yeah.
part. Like people don't see it, but fifth edition has a ton of fourth edition in it. It left out some of the best parts of fourth edition, sadly, and brought in the shit from third edition that we didn't fucking need back. But people are whiny bitches about their D&D. But fourth edition's a fine dynamic game, and the rules absolutely support dynamic combat. I disagree with you, John, and let's go to Parliament and argue it.
I think we've actually played into his card.
Oh, is this what he wanted?
Yes.
Bitch.
This is exactly what he wanted. Little
Failed
bastard
Imperial.
fucking
to be honest,
gremlin.
to be honest, my experience of fourth edition is that combat was. I don't have a lot of experience as
Oh,
I
Jesus Christ.
got out of the game as quickly as possible. Was that fourth edition combat was just incredibly slow. I felt that by having powers specifically defined in the way they did, provided some sort of ceiling of limitation. I'd rather have things much more pared back and a lot less defined, personally. And I found combat to be an absolute drudge in that game. It just took too long.
It's because the monsters had too many hit points. It was the only problem. If you actually cut the monster's hit points in half, combat zips. Go ahead, Sax. I'm gonna go get a drink.
I'll be almost right behind you. Right. You said earlier you like it when characters are maimed, having their limbs ripped out of them.
I like it when the monsters are maimed as well.
You like it when people suffer. You
I like it when.
How much work are you willing to do for it?
I do plenty of work descriptively.
No, mechanically. How much are you willing to put work into this?
I don't mechanically.
My God, John, you are terrible at these segues. You're meant to be turning around like, I don't know, Oscar, what do you have to offer? Well, allow me to turn around
Oscar,
and
okay,
point
Oscar,
out that we've got Warhammer Fantasy. You know what? An entire system which uses the same mechanics as the D100 of Call of Cthulhu, except when you turn around and you do your combat, you've still got your hit points, but you've got the reduction of your armor, you've got the reduction of your toughness. You know, being a tough bastard, you can take a couple of punches, and you can go into the negatives. But wait, going into the negatives doesn't mean that you start going unconscious. No. This is where we start getting out the charts of where you've been hurt, my dear boy. And those charts are just grotesque. You see, it can be anywhere from as simple as, okay, you've been hit, you now need to roll, and you might be disarmed because they've landed a hit on your hands, on your arm. Or it can be as terrible as you've now lost a hand. Full stop. That is it. You are not getting this back unless you're going to be going to a healer that can help you somehow. And I hope that you're on very good terms with the healing god, because, well, if you're not, it sucks to be you. But that's a you problem and your role-playing problem, because you make enemies, not friends. Get fucked. This is lovely. You can get absolutely maimed, bashed, beaten, and broken. You can have fantastic gory description, anywhere from a mallet going over, hitting Iman in his head, causing his brain, his actual cranium, to become a shrapnel bomb towards the guy next to him, meaning you're doing additional damage. You're scarring someone. Hell, I'd go so far as to say you can now permanently reduce their fellowship or their charisma. Welcome to the dynamic of a lovely rules-heavy system. And I know my mic didn't pick up that I was just snorting my own game, but I did, because it's delicious. That is what I like out of a rules-heavy game, and there's more to this. I'm just touching the very tip of the iceberg, but
Here's the thing I found with Warhammer Fantasy is, despite it being fairly rules-heavy, it flowed quite nicely.
It flows fantastically. But again, that's because it's using the same D100 mechanic that you're so used to.
Yes.
So let me move over to something that I know that some of us might even be aware of, The Witcher, or, oh god, I'm going to be butchering the name, the Interlock system.
The Interlock System Artel Saurian, yep.
Yeah, that's the one. I like this. Again, it's quite simple. You have got your stats, you have got your ability, your skill, add those two numbers together, plus 1d10 for the random number, and voila. Are you a competent swords fighter? Well, you're probably going to be much better than everyone else around you, and much better than the average peasant. What does that mean, you ask? Well, it means you attack, they roll their attack back to see how well they defend. The difference then determines how badly they got hit. If you're looking at a difference of 5, 10, 15, 20, and it goes on and on and on, you are then going to be having some wonderful, carnal, maiming situations. Here we go. Critical wounds. Just the thing I was looking for, my darling. You see, they can be anywhere from as delicious as, well, you cut him across the forearm, you've cut a nerve, his hand is now limp, he needs to see a doctor in order for this to come back. He's permanently reduced in terms of how much he can use it going forward, and that's including, magical healing, because, you know what? Get fucked, players. And they can even go over and be as nice as what I did to one of the NPCs that the players really, really, really wanted to keep alive. I shot him straight through his torso, down into his stomach, not just getting out his innards to bleed internally. I also hit him in his intestines, meaning he was now blood poisoned. Oh, it's delicious when the players now have to go like, okay, we now need to get this arrow out of him. We need to stop any internal bleeding, and we need to find leeches to get rid of all of the blood. But we need to be careful with how much blood we're taking out of him, because he might die. You know what? Hey, players, get fucked, because I'll do the same thing to you. Or you just hit them nice back here towards where their their neck is, their not vertebrae, their spine. There we go. The highway of where all of your nerve systems are located. You want to be a paraplegic? I'll make you a paraplegic. That's what this little book brings you. But wait,
are you talking about
There's more.
there is indeed more. I know my internet memes. Do you remember this, John?
Defender.
I do, yes, of course I do.
There's a number of supplements from the same creators who actually went out and expanded on you can get, basically the criticals becoming more severe. You can now have your kneecaps popped out. If you're attacking with a bludgeoning weapon towards the leg, you can now have a permanent damage from being hit in the head, again, either bludgeoning or by a sword, and now you've lost an eye. You can now have your nose cut off, and, people without noses, they kind of stand out, and they're badly scarred. Might have an impact for your social interactions now. You can have anywhere from...
Not if you play goblins.
No, definitely if you play goblins. Well, mind you, if you're playing goblins, you're socially at a step down to begin with.
Yeah. Goblins would enjoy that.
Oh,
there's a nose on the floor. There's nose on the floor. Was it mine? What did it taste like?
You would be beaten by any human. Because that's what the goblins deserve.
They didn't beat us. We beat them. We convinced them they were dead.
Moving on. Well, these are 3 different systems. Again, the interlock, having a really nice, simple system that you can use. Fantasy role-playing when it comes to the Warhammer system, or the beloved Shadow of the Demon Lord using the D20 system, but you can go out and maim your players as well. Why? Because they deserve to just be forced to play their characters until they are, they've lost 2 limbs. They can't, they can hop, they might be able to wobble, you might have to put their body onto a piece of board with wibbly wheels on them so that they can use their hands to scurry their way through like some, Parisian beggar that's lost both their legs. Why? Because it's funny, and they deserve it. They deserve this kind of pain. Hello, I'm the accounting DM. I'm a fun player. I'm a fun DM as well. Please come and join my games. I swear you'll have fun.
Save yourselves.
They are fun. I will say that they are fun. It's even more fun when you torment him. Hello, Daryl. Hello, Halakar.
But that is the sort of thing you can bring in for a dynamic combat by actually causing some infliction, and by having this being brought out, as I've talked to some of my other players, they describe as combat being the sort of thing where you don't care about honor. You want to live. You're going to be, if you're fighting someone and you have the opportunity to wrestle them down and get their face into the trough that the horses are drinking from so he can drown, do it. You want to win. Getting him down there so the other guy can get behind it and start getting his dagger to stab him several times into the back of his head. Yeah, go for it. Make it brutal. You want your games to be, engaging, filled with things like this. Give the players these sort of opportunities. Have the orc that they've, hit and cut into, have him be on the ground. And as the players are having to deal with all the other orcs that are around them, have the orc on the ground just go, no, I'm going to grab your leg. I'm going to twist it. Why? Because you're getting on the ground with me. I'm going to crawl over to you. And with I like to use the pig orcs, I'm going to start eating into your calf. Why? I don't have a weapon in my hand. I'm just going to do something. Anything. Why? Because combat is messy. And it's okay to make things messy. It's okay to have the goblin that is on the second store look down and go, I think I can hit them with a spear. I'm just going to plant it very well and just go, wee, boop. Just make things different. And it doesn't have to be, one line here, one line here. It just have to be chaotic. You make use of the environment. If there is uneven terrain, have them get up there and then make a charge down. If you're having a bar fight, if there's a second floor up there, and let's say it's a sci-fi game, because at the moment I'm reading sci-fi, have the people that are looking down upon it go like, oh, those uncivilized people fighting with knives. Get the sniper rifle. I'm shooting them from up here.
Right, so on that sort of thing about environment, we're all DMs. We've all made our own stuff, apart from Iman, who's still working on becoming a keeper.
Do you think, just really quick, Iman is like a student auditing our classes? Because he's always here for these DM conversations, but he never GMs. So it's like,
I'm always learning something from you, Wise Owls.
Exactly.
Yes.
He's auditing our classes. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would like to see my grade at the end of this.
So, starting with Saxious. Starting with Saxious. Of the combat situations that you have carefully crafted for your players, do you have a favorite in terms of the environment you put them in for that fight?
Okay, let me ask you back. What genre am I running? Because this is going to be so different. Like if you're asking what I assume to be preemptively to be fantasy.
I'm saying no. I mean, you've run fantasy, you've run sci-fi, you've run horror. An example of something that you have made that was interesting in terms of putting a combat together, and why did it turn out to be good? What aspect of that fight made it good?
Have you ever listened to players desperately describe as they are fighting tooth and nail to stay alive? As they're having to take a chair, break it so that they can get a splinter so that they can start stabbing them.
Mm-hmm.
I've put the players in a situation where they don't have their reliable weapons and then have a fight come through. The enemy's got, shanks, small arm guns and the like, and just have the players go, right, well, we are balling. I've had some fun moments where the players are in situations where the numbers are not going to save them. They have to make use of what they have. And that's anywhere from some of the players going, well, I did my mandatory service. I understand the point of why we need to do suppressive fire. I'm going to get out my automatic gun, go on full, and I'm just going to just spray this area to pin them down while everyone else goes out and starts getting to the flanks so that they can lob Molotov cocktails. Why? Because, you don't need to bother about hitting someone when it's an area of effect, and fire is lovely. I like putting my players into that. I mean, hell, I like using numbers against my players because why? The players have to suddenly go like, well, we don't want to fight them in the open. We want to bottleneck them. Or sometimes, again, I'm going to use Warhammer 40,000. Give them an orc. A Warhammer orc is terrifying. It's the equivalent of a D&D ogre that you then have to fight at level 1. That's scary. When they can, yeah, they can take shotgun shells. You can shoot them in their head, and they can still keep fighting.
Yeah. Focusing on Codex Albana, of all the combats you've put us through so far in Codex Albana, what was your favorite in terms of how it all played out and why?
None of them. I've not felt any of the combats played out the way I wanted them to. I've been trying to kill you guys for like 5 combats in a row. I think I've been trying to murder one of you. I just want to get one of you to die, and you guys keep managing to survive because I'm not a prick about it. So
So you haven't thought any of them were particularly good.
I haven't forgot. Wait, sorry. What's your question?
I'm talking about of all the combats you've put us through in Codex Albana. Which one was the most dynamic? Which one was the most memorable of all of them?
Probably the fight on the shore until fucking Cody used magic to fuck over my plan. Yeah,
that was good. That one.
I would have said that same one.
Yeah. That was the relentless numbers of enemies, the panic, the situation that Malachi was in. Because I remember he was utterly brutalized in that fight.
What do you mean? I got run through.
Oh, you did as well. Yeah, I think I was generally
Got a
okay
sexy double parry in there, and then I got stabbed.
But no, that was good. I mean, my personal favourite was the one with the beastmen outside the pub.
Oh right, Basil Boar's Head, that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. I was not happy with that one. I wanted it to go differently, but players are going to be players.
I enjoyed that one.
I know you guys all enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed that.
I'm Saxious on these. I wanted to kill some damn PCs.
Yeah.
I mean, the scariest one for me was when I was stuck alone in the woods against a beastman. Pretty much a fight to the death.
I was hoping that those beastmen would have come out a round earlier.
Wow.
I mean, I would have loved to just having to fend them off while Perret was being torn to his limb from limb beside you, because that's the situation you put him in. Yeah, but you put him there. You put him in that situation. I wanted him, and well, everyone in there to be like, well, you're ringing the dinner bell.
My character has the equivalent of D&D intelligence of about 7. So he's going to end up in those sort of situations.
It doesn't change how I viewed the situation. I still wanted characters to die there. NPCs, PCs, the like. I wanted blood.
There's been plenty of blood in it.
That's just my natural default state. I crave, I demand, I need DM, PC blood.
His wisdom's not very good either, Malachi. Don't worry, his intelligence and wisdom aren't very good. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. He's quite well educated without having retained any of it.
Iman, you're here.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm just setting up.
Yeah, but tell us, what is something that was very dynamic in your eyes of the games you've been in? Or it doesn't have to be the ones that you're in with us.
You might have to get back to me on that. Sorry.
No, pick one.
Pick one? Well, you know what I'm going to say if you're asking me on the spot.
Go on, we're waiting.
Call of Cthulhu, obviously.
There we go.
Sorry, go on. What was the question?
Any particular session?
I mean, for me personally, the best session, and I mean, maybe it's recency bias, but I mean, last night's was fucking phenomenal. I mean, I have to say the caves in Trieste were pretty good, but these caves were a level above, so...
One thing about this particular campaign is it does, I said at the start, it ramps up as it goes along. So you'll get these sort of moments will become more and more and more. It starts off gently. It gets very brutal. I've said that all along, and you're finding that out now. I'm going to say one of my favorite combats, Saxious. Do you remember a massive clockwork charging against these massed ranks of enemies with 3 little goblins perched on his shoulders, screeching and slinging?
I have some vague recollection of that moment.
great big clockwork, dressed in a sort of a leather armor that was made of dried bodies, all sort of lashed in with ropes.
Just tell us the story. Just go through.
But no, I've already told them. I mean, we attached bodies to him for camouflage, and they sort of dried and shriveled and formed like a leather armor around him, made him cozy, gave us a place to hide. But no, we had a big army massed up against us. We were heavily outnumbered, so we just clambered aboard. What was the clockwork's name? I can't remember.
Can't remember either.
We clambered aboard and we just went charge. Just charged in. Goblins going on top of him with our slings. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah,
Can remember bits and pieces of it.
yes, bits and pieces. Yes. So, oh no, he's not connected yet. He's not. I've got to wait for him to connect his stuff. We have a dynamic Daniel lurking in the wings.
I look forward to watching him fall asleep.
Hey!
All right, whatever.
Hey, Dan, what's up,
Hey,
man?
I haven't fallen asleep in about a month. So give me
Jesus Christ, you're overdue.
I know.
Daniel, welcome to the stream. Welcome.
Running late. I made a semi-fancy dinner with my daughter, so
Woo, Game Masters.
running late.
Yes.
Oh, nice, Game Masters.
It's just popped up. Who got those? Andy, Pete O'Ryan, Mondo Hand, Mike Percival, Kevin Lamb. Sure, I know Kevin. Anybody know Kevin?
4, possibly
Well-
5. I recognize the name, but
Welcome to the channel, Kevin. Hope you stick around. I hope you enjoy.
Welcome. If we've met you before, Kevin, say hello. Tell us where we met you. Because we're all old and we forget things. I mean, who's that Lelup?
Who are you people and where's my supper? I think the nurse has been stealing my money.
So, Daniel, dynamic combat. Thank you, Game Masters. Dynamic combat. Think of a recent session you've played in, and how a particular combat felt dynamic to you. Mention it. Describe it. What was it about it that made it dynamic? What was it that made it enjoyable?
Yeah. Actually, I've been playing a lot the last weekend. There was actually a lot of them. Holy crap. Give me a moment to come back to that.
Okay.
Because honestly, played a lot over the last week, and there was a few.
Okay,
Yep.
we'll come back to it. Iman had his hand up a moment ago.
easy question for me to answer, Halakar. I don't have a D&D channel, so
Okay. Was that what you were looking to respond to?
it was sort of related to what Bear was talking about before we went live.
Okay.
You have a channel. You could start doing D&D stuff on it.
No.
You could start doing Call of Cthulhu stuff on it.
Yeah, that's more like.
Yeah, or okay, you could start doing role-playing stuff on it.
Yes.
Just role playing.
And then you wouldn't be so embarrassed about us every time we're like, "Hey, let's simulcast the Codex Albana." No, on my stream, mate. No, my streams are people want to watch video games. I don't want to see the stream. No, man,
it's a video.
Yeah, let me sit in the shed.
Ah,
Smoke some
fuck
fucking weed, mate. Yeah.
Bullshit on there.
Oh, right, yeah. Like, dude, you're here. You're a nerd. Join us.
Yeah, I know.
I think. I mean, I know it's off topic, but I think in general, it's very hard to make money, proper money, off YouTube.
You're never going to make money.
You have to have a niche that you occupy that can gain enough loyal support. But even then, people come and people go. just because I mean, I've got 2,000 subscribers. How many of those 2,000 subscribers have watched my Forest Oracle review? When I first started out, I had 700 or 800 subscribers, and I was getting 400 or 500 views in the first couple of days on any review I put out. I've now got 2,000 subscribers, and in the first few weeks of the Forest Oracle review being out, it's had 200 views. So people come and go. People's interest rises and wanes with the tide. So, and it's difficult to maintain interest. It's difficult to maintain variety, and that's what's going to happen.
Or as the kids say these days, stay relevant.
Yeah.
But are we relevant?
What are kids, and why do we give a fuck what they're saying?
Yeah.
There you go, Bear.
None of us here built a channel on being relevant to the kids today. We built a channel.
I barely built a channel being unrelevant to people my own age. Come on, man.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's only a major issue for those who use the channel as a primary income. Yes, I think that's fair how it goes. I've seen numbers drop off though, but it happens. It happens. Hey ho, and you've got to live with it and adapt with it. So YouTube can be a bit of an arse. You don't quite know why a video gets pushed or when it's going to be pushed. I did my short review of Keep on the Borderlands, and it was getting a very, very high click-through rate, but yet its views were way down because it wasn't getting shown until tonight when it started being shown. And now my click-through rate has dropped, but the views have shot up because
I'm going to interrupt and say, why are we off track?
I'm going to interrupt and say, what the fuck are you talking about? I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Every time I hear you guys say click-through rates and this, I'm like, what do you do on YouTube? Do you spend all your time in your fucking dashboard trying to figure out the magic formula? Here's the secret. You don't speak the fucking lingo of the algorithm. You will never figure out the magic formula unless you start putting up videos that say, Watsy ate my child. Here's 5 reasons why D&D sucks. And then you'll get a million fucking views and you'll be happy. Or keep doing what you're doing. Build your audience one subscriber at a time. Don't worry about click-through rates. Don't worry about all that fun stuff. And you will be here in 5 years, unlike the people who are worried about that shit whose channels are dropping like flies right now.
I was just explaining how things are odd though, and but it happens.
There are hundreds of other channels that go into this entire thing. I wouldn't bother anyone here with.
Iman left. Oh well. I guess his click-through rate failed.
Better us his brother in the microwave.
Yeah, there's
I like
that.
my version better with the click-through rates. I think that's far better.
Anyway, on to much more interesting discussions.
Yeah, let's talk about the Avengers Initiative. Get it, Nick Fury? No, okay.
So, Daniel, have you come up with any examples?
No, I'm still thinking. Honestly, this past week of games, everything has been like everything had a consequence, no matter what we did in whatever game. That's why I'm trying to think of what may have been the most consequential one. So, yeah.
I mean, in Merp there was no combat, and in the Call of Cthulhu game I ran for you last week, there was no real combat in that. We're trying to really focus on. There you are. Brian has suggested, Daniel, tell them about the axe battle. I don't know about the axe battle. Did you have a big battle in axe? The axe game is at silly o'clock for me, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that one.
it's late on a Saturday and you're drunk.
Don't ask me something from 3 days ago. Okay. What was that? I'm trying to think what happened. I mean, you're going to have to come back to me.
Brian's
it was about you were defending a fort against a horde of goblins.
Oh, yeah. it was literally it boiled down into catapults. Sorry, my cat's bugging me. Catapults, trebuchets, ballista, all other kinds of stuff. I really had no effect in that battle because all my spells are up close. It was a full-on battle against the horde. With think of a military siege, and that's what it was.
Yep.
You
Oh,
know,
they're fun.
burning oil, flaming balls of pitch, all that other happy crap. Yeah, it was pretty. It
Was
was
Omen was that Omen Owl's game? He was running.
yeah, yeah. It was mass combat. So, which made it kind of fun because normally my character is like the badass, and here he's rendered down to nothing. I stood on the wall and watched, being like, "Oh, go hit him," because I couldn't do anything. So it made it cool because it was like strategy. So it was neat.
There was one. There's an AD&D adventure module I've mentioned quite a lot on this channel, and a particular combat that's set up in that. And I think it is a perfect example of that siege style battle. It's a big battle. I don't tend to like battles that go on forever, unless they are genuinely exciting. And this particular one in UK3, the Gauntlet, is absolutely outstanding. A small party of probably 6 characters, about level 4, 5, in a keep with thick walls, arrow slits, murder holes, narrow corridors, a big gate at the front.
What the
You've got to
fuck's a
hope the part.
murder hole?
So when you have something like a gate, usually there are holes or there are things you can open up to basically shoot down or throw things down onto people. That is a murder hole.
Oh, got you.
It's a way for you to basically have access to like, but usually they would throw on stones because they're ubiquitous. And
Or
then,
boiling, pour oil through, pour hot oil through the hole.
Yeah,
I step away to check my supper and I come back and you're discussing murder holes? Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what one was.
it's not a hole where you throw people into. It's a strategic.
It
I mean,
could
I
be.
knew what one was. I didn't realize that was the term for it. I should really say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
fair
particular battle is that you better hope that the players have really accurately mapped out this keep, because it is all laid out for a reason. And it feels like a proper keep. It feels very defensible, and everything is in a logical place. Because at a certain point in that adventure, they are assailed by a fire giant with 150 hobgoblins, 30 of which carry a battering ram. There are flying creatures flying across the valley towards them as well. Manticores, screaming devilkin. There are hellhounds. And this small party have to defend this keep against its oncoming horde.
I still want to ask why.
Why?
Why do you have to defend it? I'd be giving that up.
Because it's actually slightly a case of mistaken identity, because the fire giant's daughter is imprisoned in the keep, and the player characters just happen to be there at the moment when he comes to try and get her back.
Right.
But that isn't revealed until the party have beaten off the first wave if indeed they do beat off the first wave. So it is an absolutely brutal moment, and you guarantee as the players look out across the valley to see what's coming towards them, it's like, oh, fuck.
I'd still surrender the keep and just be like, it's yours. We were visiting. Bye.
Not my fucking problem.
At level 3 or 4, I'm not picking a fight like that.
You can win it. You can win it.
I know you can. I know you can, but I'm also thinking in the perspective of a peasant. You're looking at going, no, I'm not a strategist. I'm not a tactician. I'm not a nobleman. I've got no form of training on this end. I'd like to live.
But you're level 4 or 5 character.
No. I'm stopping this conversation because we are way off track.
I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying it watching you and John bicker.
This is an example of a very, very dynamic combat, because the way the situation ebbs and flows in this particular combat is brilliant. When the party starts employing the murder holes, the various little nooks and crannies that they can get into fire from onto the hobgoblins, which can't at this point fire back, but that door is getting battered further and further. As any moment now, these hobgoblins are going to flood into the place.
I bet you really like heist films, don't you?
No, not particularly.
Because that's what this sounds like.
Well, okay, so he loves Call of Cthulhu, but he hates horror films. So,
I don't watch many films, as you know.
Yes, I know, and it's amusing meeting someone who actually watch fewer films than me.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, hi. Either way, other things that is worth with making combat dynamic is, and I quite like this from 4th edition, I like it from 5th edition, I like it from 2nd edition, when we had the, where is it now? Arms and equipment. No, it is skills and powers and combat and tactics.
I'm just giving Halakar the thumbs up for that comment. Yeah. Hey, Halakar, by the way, I didn't say hi to you. How you doing? Andy as well, by the way. I'm really looking forward to what Andy's going to bring to Codex Albania. Anyway, back to crafting classic combats.
Come on, Saxious. What were you going to say?
Well, I like it when combat is more than, as Bear said, I hit him with my sword. No. Do a disarm. Do a lunge. Do a power strike. Do something different than the ordinary. Do something interesting, which is why I have these books, because that's where you can have some really interesting combat setups. I quite enjoyed seeing a player sit down and go, okay, I'm going to make a halfling. I'm going to make him a warrior. I am going to go down the whole fight a thief mentality to make him a pseudo ranger, and I'm going to have him dual wield short swords. And he is just going to be the kind of bastard that goes, right, we're in the forest, jump into the bushes, become basically the shadows come out, cut off their Achilles heels, move over to the next enemy, and go through and just become an absolute shredder in that sense. And it was enjoyable, as he was combining anywhere from the sneak attacks to the various combats and the ability to disarm, and as well as doing feints.
Why didn't he pick a more interesting weapon, though? Surely a polearm with lots of hooks and...
a polearm for a halfling.
You can have a halfling polearm.
For a polearm.
Recognize the bait when you see it, man. It's just...
No, because I'd like John, you are borderline a halfling. You can barely hold a polearm. You can shut up.
Give me a shortened Vector Corbin, and I'll have a lot of fun.
You can't wield it. You're too short. The rule says you can't wield it. It is too big for you. The rule says you can't.
Cut that shaft out.
It is not the weapon at that point. Then
that turns into a battle axe.
You don't get the stats for that. That's just a mace. Know your rules, John.
But then you can
read the book.
All the lovely disarming things, and that you start doing that with them. Then, yeah.
Well, Vector Corbin.
Vector Corbins are tin openers and all sorts.
I want a long sword, but I want a shorter one. Well, that's a short sword.
Yeah, or a halfling. They become a long sword. Either way, you can. That is what I like to then bring out for the warriors. And even so, again, jumping it over to my Warhammer because I'm doing that with the sci-fi. You've then got other skills. Well, specifically they're called talents, which then allows you to have multiple attacks, and you can start just becoming a butcher when you come in. You can really build a character that can wield. I don't care. I'm not reading it. And you can create a character that can just walk in and be like, okay, I get an attack here. I get all 3 attacks because I've got multiple weapons. Because I've done a hit, I get all of these roll on. I've seen a character make a beautiful Death Cult assassin who would just walk in like, right, first round, I am going to be getting 6 attacks. If I am not seeing 6 dead bodies, I'm going to be seeing at least 4 dead bodies because, oh boy, I'm going to be mad and I'm going to be frenzying the next round. And then I will be introducing drugs. Lovely, lovely combat stimulants and drugs. And it is murderous what some characters can make once you start bringing these things in. Just hype up the combatants on these stimulants. Well, they don't care about pain. They don't care about, I've lost an arm. Don't care. I'm going to be killing you with my teeth now.
Well, like we had last night in Call of Cthulhu, with an insane character wielding a dagger that made him feel good when he plunged it into the hearts of these proto-vampires. And it was making him feel better and more and more and more into it.
And the warmth that was coming into him was a good warmth, not like the horrible warmth that he was feeling the rest of the time.
The horrible warmth.
Yes.
Horrible warmth.
But that's sort of what I was trying to go towards, is that you can include the dynamic where you can start having in other aspects, such as, the player saying, like, okay, I'm going to be having the ability to frenzy, and now I'm just going to be going out and doing all these weird and wonderful things. I will have combat stimulants, which will make me just go, I don't care about pain, or others which will then sharpen your mind, make you more reactive, so forth and so forth. I like options. I like it when the core book presents options, because then I can present it to the players and they can be creative. And similarly, I can be creative with my enemies, and I can code poisons into the weapons. I mean, I'm sure you must have done this, John. You must have poisoned your enemies' blades before. Yeah. So, but have you done things where it's just been like, or do you primarily do like, you fail your save? 10 turns down the line, you now take 10 points of damage, or blah blah blah. Is that what you normally do?
No,
you do things?
no.
Nice.
I'll do other things.
Nice. So I've done some wonderful things where it's been like, lovely.
You wheel away from combat, throwing your guts up.
Have you considered just giving the players anesthesia, localized anesthesia, and suddenly their arms can't work? Do you know how horrifying that is? Suddenly you're in a fight, and every time you get hit, you feel less and less of that body part. Could you imagine how terrifying that is? And now introduce bolasses.
You don't feel the pain either.
No, you have no idea what's happening, and you can't lift your arm either.
But I have a noodle attached to my shoulder.
Exactly. And now introduce things like a bolas or a lasso. You can start having wonderful things like, hey, having a lasso hit to your face. Ow! You're not going to be very happy with that. Have it strapped around your neck. And now you're feeling constricted. You can't really breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're going to be reminding people like, hey, what's the drowning rules again? And now we're getting in somewhere. Just throw a net on the players. Attach it to a horse right off with that player. Just smile.
We're back to my first point of the entire conversation. To make combat dynamic, first, you make it perilous. You make the players genuinely scared to be in that fight.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Not necessarily.
And I want to give a shout out to Heroic for this, because yes, there are villains that are more powerful than you, but it's not perilous because we're heroes. We're powerful too. They might be more powerful, but it's not like we're just a regular dude. It's challenging. It's not perilous. There's a difference.
Too perilous.
Perilous is like, oh, you are powerless. Oh my god, Call of Cthulhu style. Like, Heroic is like, you have powers. You can do things that a normal person can't do.
You still have a chance.
So much less perilous.
You can still fight back.
Yeah.
Perilous is well, it's kind of written in stone. You're
Yeah.
going to die.
No, perilous doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die. It just means the odds are a little bit stacked against you. Better do something about it.
Okay, so that combat scene that we were planning for 2 weeks, Oscar, or well,
Yep.
we were probably planning for longer. How that combat went down, yes, it was challenging. Yes, it was exciting. It was dynamic, but it wasn't perilous. It could have been, you know what I mean, but it wasn't because we stuck to the plan.
You actually, you listened to Nighthawk, you followed the plan, and lo and behold, the plan worked. When
It was a challenge, yes. Was it
Nighthawk's a
perilous?
chump. Don't listen to that Nighthawk. Nighthawk's a chump.
that's not my perspective of her, but I think she's awesome, and I am a open
Well,
and
I
very.
can't wait to see how you like Friday night then.
I'm excited. I am giddy about it. I'm going to be staying up for that. Get out some preparations for it.
What time is it? What time is all this going down there?
So it's
1
1
o'clock.
p.m. Eastern.
1 o'clock our time.
Yeah,
1
1 a.m. UK time.
Usually goes for 2-3 hours. We usually get about a good hour and a half of actual role playing in there. The rest of the time is, herding cats like you do.
Cow prodders.
I will sadly be in the land of Zeds when that is happening live.
You mean
and
the
I-
land of Nod?
that land, Zed.
Land of Nod?
What is that then? The land of Zed. It sounds very unpleasant. It does.
Zeds, not Z's. Zeds. And but no, I Saturday's a pain in the ass for me that I would work. But hey ho, that's the way it goes. That's the way.
Would it be
But
more fair to say, John, that if there's an element of peril or an element of danger,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
because having one element of danger doesn't make a whole situation dangerous.
If there's no danger, if there's no peril, then it's boring.
well,
And I will
your,
die
your,
on
char-
that hill.
your characters are at the risk of being either killed, maimed, or kidnapped. Which is what I liked in one of my 5th edition games, where one of the players suddenly sat there and went, "He's not trying to kill us. He's not trying to kill us." And he panicked. He was panicking because, like, he's keeping us alive. These creatures are keeping us alive. They want to take
We
us.
need to die. We need to die. We need
He
to
was
die.
like, we don't want to be
need
taken away, but they're taking us. No. And that's right. We're going to take them places. Wonderful places. And unfortunately, they decided to win that fight, which was unfortunate for them.
If there is a fate worse than death, Saxious will find it.
I have given that to some players and they've gone, nope. Actually, wait, no, my other players don't watch this nice. So, my sci-fi game. Who here's, well, I know, Bear, you're familiar with Weimar. A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Are you familiar with the Dark Eldar? A little bit, yeah. But you know that they're bad. Yeah, right. For the rest of you, allow me to paint you a picture. Imagine a world where the Drow existed, in a sci-fi world. Now imagine that the Drow knows that their souls are being leached away by a dark god, and they can't do anything about it. Unless they supplement and prevent their soul from being taken by causing pain to others. Imagine a Drow society built upon kidnapping and doing as prolonged torture as long as possibly as they can, to the point of where they will keep you alive. Just, your mind is gone, but you still feel pain. And that is a society where they come out, they come to your planets, they take you just because they need to live a little bit longer. And your pain, your suffering, your unhappiness is what will keep them going. Does this sound like a nice encounter to come up against? Where their guns, they don't shoot normal rays. No, they just shoot needles that make you just drop down. That I mean, why do you think I like 40k? Imagine now, all of their weapons are just needles, splinters shooting into you, poisoning you, making you go numb so that they can come up and collect you.
Saxious, is this what keeps you going? Is this how you feed
Yes.
you get energy into your veins? From
Well,
other...
John, just stop asking dumb questions. You know the answers to this.
Yes.
Fenelic
Yes.
feeds on blood. Saxious feeds on the torment of his players.
So, the world that I have generated using my random planet generator, there are a lot of these bastards running around, which is not good for the players because the way that these things happen, like you don't know they come up and they're just like, boop, here you go. But you're now having to fight someone that will delight in prolonging the fight with you. They will intentionally delay killing you because they just want to cut you. They want death by 1,000 cuts.
You are describing
Literally.
yourself here. You're describing yourself here, aren't you?
Yes, and there's an entire species that is now allowing me to do this to my players, and they can't do anything about it. They just have to accept this is now the reality. These are the enemy they have to fight, or better yet, if you're smart, you will run. Oh, try to at least. So, for the dynamic of that, my point that I've been trying very badly to go towards, when your players come up against an enemy where it's not about life and death, it's about something very different. I like using the Yuan-Ti for horrible experimentation to other humanoids. I like using the Dark Elder or the Space Drow, but when the players go like, no, I am now permanently putting a cyanide pill into my tooth.
Oh, right, okay.
Put these things in the world where it's like you as the DM, you don't need to kill them. You just need to be creative about how you go about it. Use sleep or any other variation of that spell. Use various potions and poisons that will slow the players down, that will numb them, that will give them disadvantage or penalties to how they fight. Or even make them sick. I mean, if they're sick, all you have to do is just tie them up and drag them away. They can't really fight back. See, that sort of thing it gives a very different perspective because once it clicks for the players that bam, we need to get out of here or we need to win because the alternative isn't death. No, they will keep us alive. They will come over and stop our bleeding, and 1d4 hours later, we are waking up naked and afraid and tied up because these things will take us somewhere we don't want to go. Yeah.
I do have a question, a personal question for Saxious now.
Yeah.
Does your wife ever listen in to these streams, or you?
Yeah. Well, not the streams. She can hear me. She's normally at bed at this point, but she's been on several cases where she hears me go on these ramblings in the UK daylight times, and she hears this. She knows what I'm like as a DM, and she's told me very point flat, so she will never play a game where I am either a player or a DM.
That's fair enough. That's fair. That's fair
That's
enough.
why the marriage has survived.
She's probably tired.
Oh my fucking god.
So evil dwarves may give their prisoners infusions of their own blood to keep poisons from killing them, allowing the person to cause pain for longer.
Does it just give them like resistance then? Like for a bit?
I see chatter now going into Saxious' private life.
They can speculate all they want.
Stop it.
No, continue. Praise Slanesh.
Daniel, have you got any memories yet?
No, sorry guys, I'm like busy with the kids and everything. I'm like half-assing it tonight.
Well, no.
And the rest of us,
Yes, I'm kind of
Yeah, I know,
lurking.
right?
Daniel, this has been literally the Sax and John snipe at each other stream.
Oh, I
And
know.
every now and then one of us
It's
adds something.
It's cracking
Well-
me up. At least I'm not. They're
Why do you think you
entertaining
turn it
enough.
up?
I'm not falling asleep.
No. So you're half-assing. I'm quarter-assing. Iman didn't even bring an ass, but these two are double-assing. So we're good.
Yeah, love it.
Right. So we have a future DM amongst us in the form
Hello.
of you are going to be running Deadlight very shortly.
Eventually, yeah.
And yeah, that is an adventure which has the potential to get quite brutal pretty quickly. Are there
Oh,
any things you...
Cheers, Mondo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Monda. Thank you
Thanks,
indeed.
Mondo.
Thank
And
you very
hope
much.
Avoid the fires.
So yeah, smoky and fiery. It feels weird for this to be happening in the middle of winter. It feels odd. But anyway, thank you, Mondo. So Iman, when you are running that, do you have anything you plan to do to really make the potential combat in that sing? Without giving specific details, because some of the people here might play in it.
Yeah, so I mean, I want there to be like an overall feeling of dread, like, but that I think will come from the confusion of, oh fuck, what is this thing? What are we going to do with this thing?
Yeah.
Because it's not, humanoid, shall we say? So it's not like, oh, you can just shoot it. So anyway. But I'm also thinking, like, I want to, like Saxious does, he's given me a lot of inspiration. The way he drags out pain, I think I want to do a bit of that too. Just like, like, you do it as well, to be fair. Like, when someone does a bad dice roll, you're like, oh.
You just learn to take enjoyment in other people's misfortune.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, I've gone to the point where, like, I enjoy it when the misfortune hits me. I'm like, ooh, what's happening here?
The thing we need to embrace here is failure and disasters are just as much fun as successes when handled correctly,
Yes.
especially at crucial moments. So the key is to create those crucial moments, those exciting moments where there are high stakes. And that's where the dice are your friend when it comes to making combats interesting, dynamic. Because if it boils down to one or two players having to roll a certain number, and if they don't, then not just their characters, but everybody else is at serious risk of dying as a result. That makes the combat engaging. It makes everybody watch those dice rolls. Makes everybody on edge. And one of the things that made last night's combat interesting was that happened multiple times.
Yep. You can say
Multiple
that you want to do whatever you want, but if the dice don't let you, the dice don't
say
let
no.
you.
But when the dice say yes and do so in style,
Oh,
it feels
yes.
great. Oh, yeah.
The dice are the
Equally.
living embodiment of the expression, the best laid plans of mice and men, Afghanagly.
But they can support your plans, but they can foil
Yeah,
your plans.
But do they really? No.
No.
The dice giveth and the dice taketh away.
The dice mostly take it away.
Yeah.
But
But yesterday, it added to the dramatic tension because we failed like a lot of the initial rolls, but like
Yeah.
just when it was like the final moment that we could have saved ourselves is like when it pulled through.
yes, the dice put you in that perilous situation,
Yes, that's true. And then they saved us from it.
and then they got you out of it, but not until after they had pounded you quite severely. and caused panic. Yes, and these failures create role-playing opportunities, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to role-play. We're here to describe. We are here to enjoy, get immersed in the moment, and enjoy it. Speaking of enjoyment, I am going to say the temperature in my attic has dipped. I am now very, very cold.
And unfeeling.
And unfeeling, yes. Don't know how long I'm going to be going on with this stream for, because my little electric fire is currently on maximum, and it's not breaking the cold now at all. What temperature is it here now, Iman?
-7 apparently.
Dear God, how do you survive? How do you even move in such low temperatures?
I am.
The horror of it all.
-4, -5, I can tolerate, but this is ridiculous.
I'm in an attic which is not set or lined with any sort of lagging or anything. It's just cold.
Yeah,
I'm basically
totally
sitting in an
understandable.
igloo right now. You realize that?
So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to go on for, because it is.
That's fine.
It's
If you
the coldest night of the year here.
you look after you. So I think it probably would be better if we were to round it up here, so you can go down, get warmed back up,
Get warm, yeah. Because
return to your hobbit hole.
I can't feel my feet at the moment, and my hands are rammed in my pockets to try and keep them warm.
You saw your shadow, 6 more weeks of winter. We get it. It's all good.
Yeah. So I am going to wrap the stream up here. We have pretty much hammered the topic pretty well. Thank you for the contributions. Thank you, chat, and thank you to the panel. Sorry it was a little short tonight, but we're in the middle of a cold snap, and I'm in an attic.
I feel I really contributed a lot tonight. I feel like this is one of my better panels where I was really, really on the spot.
Hey, Bear. Sorry to disappoint. I'm still awake.
Hey, I know that's a miracle.
Sorry, buddy.
Mark the day on the calendar, buddy. It's a holy day.
So I'm going to wrap things up here. Sorry it's a little shorter than usual. I'll be back on Friday. We are forecast slightly warmer weather coming into the weekend, so it should be fine to go on a little later. But I don't think I'm going to be going on much longer tonight. It's bloody cold. So thank you all. Thank you, fellas. Cheers for joining us tonight.
Have a good night, everybody.
Cheers, John.
I'll see you all
Cheers,
soon.
all.